This video series is brought to you by the ASU Writing Center within the Academic Support Network. Thank you for joining me as we discuss Part 3 of Critical Reading and Engaging with Sources. This video, our third in the series, will discuss critical reading strategies. Let's get started. Before we dig into strategies, remember from our last video that critical reading is a set of habits that allows you to be more intentional about how you read and what you take away from reading. Critical reading should be happening anytime you will be expected to read or engage with a text for coursework. It can also happen as you read for pleasure. Critical reading allows you to categorize and quickly reference information rather than just remembering the pieces you enjoyed. Use these strategies with articles, academic journals, textbooks, novels, and others. There are often 4 stages to critical reading. You're going to want to first determine your goal. Before reading, ask yourself what you hope to learn or gain from the text. Consider the ways you might need this text to inform your research topic or paper. Then you'll want to preview the text. Briefly skim the text to identify headings, section breaks, any figures or tables, and sources in the bibliography. Third, you'll want to take notes while reading. You'll want to dialogue with the text as you read, making note of your impressions, your questions, your opinions, and others. And then finally, you'll want to review your notes and determine next steps. You can use your notes to identify answers to your questions as well as themes in your readings. For the first stage, determining your goal, you will want to consider what you hope to get out of the reading you're engaging in. Effective reading means reading with a reason, a purpose, or a goal in mind. Your goal can be specific or vague. Let's look over an example. A specific goal may sound like, I'm reading the Fuad et al. Article to learn what their data says about the effectiveness of career exploration programs they explored to provide undergraduate students support in deciding career goals and promoting academic success. On the other hand, a vague goal may sound like, knowing that I want to study the effectiveness of career exploration programs on undergraduate students, my professor recommended that I read this Fuad et al. Article. I'll read it and see what I think. The specific goal shows that we are looking for a specific piece of information. We go into reading this article with a good understanding of what they'll be discussing and what we want to learn from it. The vague goal shows a general purpose. They know the source is relevant to their interests, but they don't know exactly what information they'll find. Both of these goals have value, so don't feel the need to add a specific goal for your reading if you don't have one. Vague goals work just fine. Once you have a goal or a reason for reading what you're reading, you can move on to the next stage. For our second stage, we'll be previewing the text. Here you can see that we have previewed the text mentioned in our scenario. We have the main headings and the subheadings listed on this page. This allows us to see the structure of the paper, which can serve as a guide for your own writing. I will note that here you do not see the introduction and conclusion listed in the headings. It's common to read these as part of previewing the text, which is why they don't necessarily show here. You can look over the other headings and subheadings to get a feel for the organization of the paper and the different things that they'll discuss. But don't forget to read the introduction and conclusion as part of your text to preview. After previewing the text, we will work on structuring our note-taking. As you work through your coursework and readings, think about the best way for you not to only read the text, but to revisit the important information. Consider the structure and features of the text you're reading. For example, textbooks often have tables and figures, summaries, comprehension questions, and vocabulary. Articles often have footnotes, endnotes, bibliographies, arguments, section headings like methods, literature review, recommendations, etc. And finally, novels or narrative nonfiction have characters, plot structure, dialogue, settings, literary devices, and others. These features can help you structure your notes and understand what you're reading, so be aware of them. Once you've considered the features of the text you're reading, you will also want to create a repeatable structure for your note-taking, such as a color-coded system of annotation, a reading log, or a note-taking template like Cornell Notes. This will allow you to study, review, recall quotations during discussions, etc., without having to reread the entire text. When taking notes and annotating readings, you want to have a repeatable structure. You can use any color to mark any ideas that are important to your project. Here you can see our sample annotation key. We have orange, meaning the author's main idea or claim, pink for guiding research questions, yellow for key sources on which the authors rely, blue for our own opinions as a reader, purple for areas where there is a gap in knowledge, and green for the author's conclusions and areas for future research. Other ideas you might want to annotate for are things like vocabulary and connections to other readings. It is important to note that this is just a sample key. You will want to customize this for your own note-taking style and what you believe will be important in your research. Let's look at an example of this annotation style. This is an article that has been read critically and annotated. In this screenshot of the article, you can see that we have in orange the author's main ideas. Also see that we are doing more than just highlighting in orange. We are also taking notes. In blue here, we have an interesting idea highlighted and then our opinion on the idea. Remember that the research will be used to showcase, position, support, refute, etc. your ideas. Be sure you include them in your notes. Yellow is being used to identify important authors and research. We are not highlighting every single source being used. We are only currently highlighting Salente 2006 because of how often the article is using that source. During and after annotating the text, consider dialoguing with it by looking at it through different lenses. Keep in mind that not every strategy will happen at the same time, so it's good to try a strategy or two for one read-through and then try others when you read the text again. Consider how you can compare this text. Look at ideas and how they compare with others you've read. Are they similar or different? Contextualize the text by considering how word choice, organization, genre, and others are affected by the time or location it was written in. Practice paraphrasing sections that may have been difficult to understand. This allows you to determine what you've understood from the reading. Evaluate the argument by considering if the points are logical, consistent, credible, and effective. Finally, be open-minded. When reading and thinking critically, you will encounter views that are contrary to your own. Be aware of that as you read and be open to considering these viewpoints. After engaging in critical reading and dialoguing with the text, it's time to review your notes and consider your next steps. After reading a source, possibly multiple times, you will want to review your notes. Annotations or comments should be referenced again to ensure that they serve a purpose. After critically reading and reviewing your notes, you will want to decide your next steps. Are there additional sources you might need to find? What information might you use in your paper? Is there a question you have for your professor after reading? Is there something you would like to follow up with a librarian about? Do you need to readjust the keywords you are using? These are all good questions to move you along in your research process. If you have questions about anything we covered in this video, our online study hub is a great place to post questions and get a tutor response. If you would like support as you work to critically read sources, see this reading analysis worksheet, which helps you investigate and take notes on your sources. Thank you for joining us to discuss critical reading strategies, and we hope to see you in our next segment discussing using sources. Thank you.